On Freedom's Temporary Air, my name is Mikhail Baranov, and I'll tell you about the important events of the day as of this hour. Hello. Russia launched 152 drones and 2 ballistic missiles at Ukraine overnight into Tuesday. About 80 of them were Shahids, according to the Ukrainian Air Force. Ukrainian air defenders neutralized 88 drones in the north and east of the country. Missile and drone strikes were recorded at 10 locations, and at 2 more, debris from downed aerial targets fell. Some residents of Sumy were left without electricity. Russia also struck the regional center with drones. About 50 windows were shattered in several apartment buildings. In addition, one of the explosions damaged a trolley bus with 6 passengers inside. One of them sustained shrapnel injuries. The female driver is in a state of acute stress, according to local authorities. The blast wave shattered the windows and damaged the vehicle's exterior. In addition, I should note that today the Russian Federation's army also attacked energy facilities in the Chernihiv region. In the Pryluki district, several tens of thousands of consumers were left without electricity. Last night in Poltava, Russia struck at the energy and railway infrastructure. Power supply depots and a traction substation were damaged, as well as administrative and warehouse buildings and rolling stock. Some trains are running with delays. As a result of the Russian drone attack, more than 1,000 subscribers in Poltava itself and the suburbs were left without electricity. The region also came under Russian fire. As a result of the strikes, fires broke out in administrative buildings. A residential building and an outbuilding were damaged. This was reported by rescuers, but they did not specify in which particular settlements the aftermath of the Russian strikes was dealt with. In Kherson, Russians are once again killing civilians. Russian Federation military dropped explosives from a drone onto a civilian bus stop. According to local authorities, another person was injured as a result. The regional center lives under constant attacks from Russian drones, over 1,500 incidents in just 1 week. Russian soldiers are literally hunting civilians, both in the city and in the surrounding areas. The stories of the victims are next in Daria Litovchenko's report.
This is how Russian occupiers hunt peaceful residents of Kherson. The invader's drone tracks a cyclist and then drops its payload. Russian soldiers no longer hide their terror against city residents and post dozens of similar videos on Russian social media. This is the surgical department in Kherson. This is where the victims of the occupier's aggression are brought.
Right away, I saw my hand fly off because it was torn away and I remembered it on my arm.
Andrei was wounded while helping an elderly neighbor pick apples in her garden. At first, he noticed a Russian drone hovering above him. Then there was a drop which split his life into before and after. He
was watching from somewhere, watching because if I had noticed him, I would have hidden. But instead, he suddenly flew up. I just turned around, saw him. He wasn't that high up, and right away, he dropped it. I didn't even have time to react or move.
Attacks like this happen every day in Kherson. The locals have already learned the Russians' tactics and know that every time they go outside, they have to be extremely alert because their lives depend on it.
As soon as you step out, you start looking all around and listening carefully. If he spots you, he'll wait for you and hunt you down. He'll keep chasing you no matter what.
Andrei's roommate used to live in Antonivka, the most dangerous suburb of Kherson. For the 3rd year now, the enemy has been using drones there against the civilian population. Kennedy says he risked his life every time he came home with groceries for his neighbors and stray animals, but this time, he wasn't so lucky.
2 fragments in my left hand, well, one hit here and broke my finger, fractured it, and another hit my wrist. It flew in from behind, so I couldn't see it anymore, and then I heard the explosion. It blew out the tires, and there was blood everywhere right away.
Did someone call an ambulance for you right away?
I came here myself.
Really?
Yeah, I pushed my bike along. He saw that a cyclist was riding by. It was scattered there on purpose. They see people walking by. Even when pedestrians are walking, they don't throw it on purpose. They see them. And then they see how it hits people.
Serhiy also became a victim of a Russian attack. This isn't his first time in the hospital. 6 months ago, a Russian drone dropped explosives on his car while he was on his way to work. He almost burned alive that time. Weeks of burn treatment and then another attack.
I was walking to the store and a drone
dropped explosives right at my feet. Fractures, fractures, and ended up in the hospital. Broken legs in both legs. Now another one is in the healing process. The second one is already, thank God, little by little.
There are dozens of such patients here. Until last summer, doctors were more likely to save people after arthroscopic surgeries.
Until 1924, that is, all these drone skids, drone attacks. On average, it ranges from 30 to 50 people. The number of patients can reach up to 70 people per month. The injuries are very diverse. That is, these are injuries to internal organs in the chest, abdominal cavity, and thoracic cavity. And probably the main marker is bone injuries. A lot of them, almost every other case, are bone injuries.
The hospital grounds themselves have also been hit multiple times. More than 10 staff members have already been injured. There have also been fatalities.
I'm not even talking about property, because a lot of employees' cars have been damaged, including the hospital yard. There were strikes right in the hospital courtyard.
Despite such working conditions, Kherson doctors continue to save lives. They've gotten used to working with the whistling of shells and the buzzing of drones.
There were times when we even performed surgeries under shelling. That is, right in the operating room, when there was an artillery attack, there were such cases too. A variety of injuries that we had never encountered in peacetime. And the sheer scale. We had never seen such a massive influx of patients as was possible here. And such a large number of specialists were involved because these injuries require urologists, traumatologists, even neurosurgeons working together. In peacetime, we rarely ever encountered anything like this. Well, we learned as we went.
Explosions could be heard even during the interview. Sounds like these have already become routine here.
According to
the Regional Military Administration, just in the past week there have been more than 1,500 attacks by Russian drones. Russian occupiers are using FPV and other strike drones. 850 of them were within the city limits of Kherson. According to officials, 77% of the drones were neutralized. That's about 1,200 UAVs. Daria Lidovchenko for Freedom TV channel.
In the past 24 hours alone, Ukrainian defense forces have eliminated 1,020 Russian servicemen. Thus, the total losses of the Russian army since the start of the full-scale aggression have exceeded 1,117,000 personnel. This was reported by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. According to the command, in the past 24 hours, 3 Russian tanks, 6 armored combat vehicles, 29 artillery systems, 1 air defense system, and 79 units of enemy automotive equipment were destroyed. In total, 193 combat engagements were recorded on the front over the past day. According to the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, the Pokrovsk sector remains the most intense part of the front. There alone, the defense forces stopped 59 assault attempts by Russian occupiers. Additionally, 22 attacks by the Kremlin's army were repelled on the Novopavlivka bridgehead. On the southern Slobozansky sector, Russia failed in 19 assaults. As for the Toretsk sector of the front, Ukrainian defenders stopped another 23 breakthrough attempts there. There, Russia continues to have a significant advantage in manpower. But a major argument for the Ukrainian armed forces in restraining and destroying the enemy on the battlefield is the use of drone systems. This was stated by the Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Alexander Syrsky. He noted the impressive number of Russian Federation targets that were hit by Ukrainian drones.
During September, our unmanned aerial systems struck 66,500 enemy targets. Of these, 39,200 strikes were carried out by kamikaze drones. At the same time, 18,159 servicemen of the occupying army were hit or eliminated. The advantage in the use of FPV drones remains on our side, although the enemy is doing everything possible to reach parity. Oleksandr Syrsky is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Telegram.
The Hamas group has made significant concessions during negotiations with Israel. This was reported by U.S. President Donald Trump during a briefing at the White House. The day before, representatives of the Jewish state and Hamas began indirect negotiations in Egypt on a 20-point peace plan proposed by the United States. The key points are the exchange of hostages and a ceasefire. Kristina Dombrovskaya will tell you more in detail.
Delegations from Israel, the U.S., and the Hamas group have arrived in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. The American side is headed by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. According to the Israeli government, the indirect negotiations on the U.S.-developed peace plan will last at most a few days.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has instructed the team led by Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer to work out the technical details of the hostage release. This is the top priority and the first step within the framework of this deal. I want to emphasize once again that these are technical negotiations. The Israeli government has agreed to the first stage of this deal, which involves the simultaneous release of all 48 hostages.
According to Israeli media, one of the main topics in the negotiations is the final timeline for the release of the hostages, including the agreement on the list of Palestinian prisoners to be freed. Washington believes that the exchange will serve as a signal for an immediate cessation of hostilities.
This
Cannot take weeks or even several days. We want this to happen very quickly. If this doesn't happen, then I think the whole deal will be at risk. So it needs to happen quickly for the sake of the hostages, their families, and this agreement.
On October 3rd, Hamas militants promised to return all the hostages. According to available information, the group is still holding 48 Israeli citizens in the Gaza Strip. Of those, according to the U.S. State Department, only about 20 are believed to still be alive. This is the closest.
We've come to freeing all the hostages, all 48 people, including 28 who have died and, of course, the 20 survivors. But there are still many obstacles ahead on this path. There's still a lot of work to be done here.
Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump called on all parties to act quickly and complete the first stage of the agreement this week.
These negotiations have been very successful and are moving forward at a rapid pace. Technical teams in Egypt will work through and clarify the final details. I've been told that the first phase should be completed this week, and I urge everyone to act quickly. Donald Trump, President of the United States, on social media Truth Social.
According to the so-called Trump plan, Israel must gradually withdraw its troops from Gaza and release 250 Palestinian prisoners serving life sentences. In response, Hamas is obliged to release all hostages within 72 hours and hand over control to international organizations. The plan also calls for the complete disarmament of the group. On October 5th, in a televised address to the nation, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu promised to free all Israeli hostages in the coming days and to disarm Hamas.
At the start of the war, one of the security officials expressed doubt that we would be able to bring back even a single hostage alive. Throughout the war, there were those who insisted without hesitation that we wouldn't be able to get all the hostages back without a full and final withdrawal of troops from the Gaza Strip. I thought differently, and I acted differently. Thanks to the decisive steps I took together with the government and the heroism of our fighters who put pressure on Hamas, we have so far brought back 207 of our hostages, but I have never given up on the rest of the hostages.
On October 5th, at the residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem, the families of Israeli hostages are waiting with hope for the negotiations in Egypt to end.
We will stay here, we will fight here, and we will stick together until the agreements are signed and the hostages return home.
On October 7, 2023, the situation in the Middle East sharply escalated. Hamas, an organization designated as terrorist by the European Union, Israel, the US, Canada, and Japan, launched a large-scale attack on Israel. Militants carried out a massive rocket strike, invaded Israeli territory, and committed mass killings of civilians. According to the Israeli government, about 1,200 people were killed, mostly civilians. 251 were taken hostage. Some of the hostages were later exchanged or released. Some were killed. In response, Israel declared war on Hamas. Its two main goals are the release of all hostages and the complete destruction of the terrorist group. This was stated by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the start of the operation in Gaza. Kristina Dombrovskaya for Frida TV channel.
Russia has ramped up an information and psychological campaign, which may be part of preparations for a potential war with NATO. As stated by the Institute for the Study of War, Russia may stage a false flag provocation. Analysts refer to a statement by Russian intelligence claiming that the UK is allegedly preparing a sabotage operation in one of the European ports in order to accuse China of supporting the Kremlin's aggression against Ukraine. Previously, Russia had already accused Poland, Moldova, and Serbia of similar actions.
In recent weeks, such statements have been appearing more and more often, forming a new coordinated pattern of activity. This model of organized activity indicates that Russia has entered the first phase of preparing to move to a higher level of warfare than the one it is currently engaged in, for example, a potential upcoming war between NATO and Russia. This is according to analysts from the Institute for the Study of War.
Subscribe to The Gaze and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.